RFID, one of the most common words and terms in our industry, and certainly one of those areas that we have been touching very regularly, in this podcast. We have been looking at RFID from the angle of warehousing, transport, etc. But we still believe there is still place for a wider vision on that. And this is why we have invited one of the best specialists in the market, Richard Cross from SATO. Welcome. If this would be a wine podcast, you would be a connoisseur, right? More or less. And we would like to take a deeper look into the big opportunity, because this is what we are talking about. RFID is becoming a bigger opportunity in the market. So last night you made a statement which really caught my attention, and you said, okay, RFID, it's a broad statement, right? And I wonder, what do you mean by that?
Sure, absolutely. Look, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to wonderful Barcelona today. I guess everyone has their own story with RFID. And I think that us at SATO, we have our own unique story. We were very much early adopters of the technology. I guess as a company, we've got a mission in life to really give everything its own ID, and so that when it's produced and when it's pushed out into the marketplace, we're understanding that product throughout its journey. So turning to different technologies to enable us to give things IDs and see them within their environment at later stages. RFID is a perfect technology, but it's a very broad technology. Some people would think about RFID and think about the key fob that they go into their business with. Others will think about the car key that they use to get into their car in the mornings. And I guess in our world, it's very much a technology that spans over multiple areas.
You're absolutely right, and I think we all are, let's say, familiar to many uses of the RFID nowadays. We can, you name them. Attendee tracking, cashless payments. Some of those areas are not the areas that you are, let's say, tracking or touching as a company. But I think there is a big benefit. We are living in a data society, and the capacity of RFID to reach a kind of real-time data, statement, it's really one of the biggest benefits that we can see in this moment. And this is also probably behind the reason why so many companies are now demanding, because this is what is happening, demanding, RFID solutions.
Yep.
So real data is the key element, or real-time data is the key element on RFID, Richard?
Look, that's very much a key one. Businesses are looking to refine their processes. They're looking to really, cut wastage within their business, whether it's for reducing products that they make, or time spent actually processing items within their business. So RFID as a technology really allows you to visualize your products in a lot better way, and really see where operational benefits can come in. And I think, having real-time data and understanding where things are at which point of time is totally important. If we look at, say, the manufacturing process, there's a number of operations that we get involved with where businesses are looking to turn from an operation which at the end of the day they see how they've performed, to actually seeing how they're performing in real time. Being able to create almost like a digital factory. So operations managers, they don't have to be kind of overlooking the production floor and sitting there. They can be sitting and really viewing data in real time and seeing where potential challenges are going to come.
Correct.
And I feel that the data that feeds these systems, it's really key that there's accuracy to that. And if you're feeding good data into, I guess, a data well that's reliant on producing these real-time reports, I feel that's our job to
It's all about
improve
efficiency,
that.
it's about also to expand a little bit the concept, of RFID into the solutions level. I mean, you are coming from sales, but you are now a solutions
Sure,
manager for EMEA within SATO.
that's right. Yeah.
So can you explain me a little bit what is this change? What is the vision that you have as a company, to make this a step and to create something a little bit in a higher level, to overlook this industry and these opportunities in a different way, probably in a more proactive way, right?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. We're making that change to be a real solutions-based
Mhm.
company, moving away from being, product focused
Yep.
in lots of ways. And really, to be able to do that, we really need to understand what is happening within businesses. So, as a company, we'd like to say we're powered on site.
Yeah.
We're within businesses and understanding what challenges they face on a day-to-day basis.
That's a very good point because challenges is one of those things that and especially because you come from sales, you have been facing customers which probably have been challenging you with a lot of situations and systems or different systems, and troubles that they were not able to solve.
Sure.
And I would like to go a little bit through those challenges,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
If
Absolutely.
and the first one which comes up into my mind is really let's say, the integration of these different technologies within a system. So every customer is going to have their own system, their own solution. Probably after 10 years, that system is not clean. It's just a combination of so many things that they have been purchasing or they have been implementing from different companies. How difficult is this integration, when you are facing an RFID, let's say, project?
Yeah, look, I guess it's definitely not out of the box.
Yeah,
Okay, so as you say, it is often quite unique for each customer. They have their own ERP systems, their own WMS systems, and if they're retail, their own POS systems at the front end. So for us, it's actually understanding the full environment of where an item is almost born and where it will end up throughout that chain, and it's that understanding that we have to have first that allows us to really position the right products, the right components that allow RFID technology to really perform throughout that environment. So yeah, for us, the integration challenge is one of learning. If we've seen it before, that's a really good point. We can then repeat what we've done before many times.
correct.
But if it's something new, we need to obviously understand the environments that we're facing, and then I guess look to knit these together, combine systems so that the resulting data
Is
is.
there any specific area where this implementation is a little bit tougher? Like for example, is a project in RFID in retail more difficult than in manufacturing, or is not depending on that? It's much more depending on the what you as an end user have got implemented in your factory, or what you as an end user have got implemented in your shop.
Yeah, okay. I guess if we go back to basics on
Mhm.
RFID,
Please.
yeah, absolutely. As far as you know performance of an RFID system is really key. We know that if we're not able to get the right performance throughout a chain, a system would fail. Okay, so I think that it's important to understand what different products you're working with. Now we could be talking about, I guess, cars at one level, bottles of perfume at another, sterile screws that will be implanted into people within orthopedic regions,
Yeah,
another area.
you're right.
So actually, what you're facing and what actually the product is, really is very key to whether you can get the right performance out of that uh, area.
Yeah,
So
because when we are talking about efficiency, of course, the performance it's a key element, right? A very efficient system which is not well implemented, it is not compatible with other systems, will never be as efficient as you are intending it to be. Then I also wonder, um, one of the more spread, let's say, thoughts, in the industry is like implementing a RFID solution is going to be much more costly, than the others, which technically it might be right. Obviously, a tag is more costly than a barcode.
Sure. Yeah.
However, there is a complete return of investment, and I don't want to look at this only from the point of view of return of investment, as why, because that depends very much on the industry, on your situation, on your product range, etc. But is the cost of implementation really something that is breaking many companies, many end users to make this a step?
I guess it's definitely a consideration. It's a major
Correct.
consideration
Correct.
whether a system would be taken
I can
on
imagine.
or not. And I think it's breaking it down to the individual components and reading environments. So yeah, I guess the cost of implementation is a barrier. It's very important as companies to understand that end to end, all of those touch points within the chain. That will then give you an idea of the total cost of ownership of that solution as it is. And what we find is that closed loop solutions in lots of ways will give a much better return on investment at short term. Okay, so
Mhm.
we're talking about maybe management of RTI, so returnable transport items,
Yes.
that are controlled by a company and entirely within their own company. They need to understand where products are within whether it's a manufacturing chain or whether it's through a logistics chain.
Yes.
And if they're able to see exactly where they are and understand maybe where they're missing and where they get lost out of the environment, they can then plug that gap, act on it very quickly, and almost stop the flow of investing more in those products. So I think in a closed loop environment, I feel that RFID is a very good fit to really manage your assets, know where they are at all times, and
Yeah, but
get the
because I
cost out
think
of
I
it.
think when we talk about this, we always refer to the cost of implementation, but at the end, it's an investment, right? I mean, and of course, you need to spend more money at the beginning, but the effect in the efficiency of the company, the effect in the let's say cost control in the future, is going to be massive, really massive. So I think that's a challenge that we also as a consumers have to do every day, right? I mean, do I spend the money now and then I have a better quality life, for example, or should I do something different? One of those other, let's say, topics that is really coming up, very soon when we talk about RFID is really the readability of the an interface of the systems that are implemented. And I think this is also something that can create also a lot of trouble. When we are
Sure, yeah,
talking with
yeah,
with customers, right?
yeah. I guess sometimes it's about what you don't want to read. It's not always what you do want to
Well, you
read.
remember those times. I mean, I remember those times that we were going to a shop and then there was a testing RFID system, and then you take the bottle of Coca-Cola, water, liquid, and there was
Absolutely,
no answer, or there was a big
yeah.
metal part, and then there was a big trouble, so those
Look,
times,
absolutely. Like physics hasn't changed in
surprise, surprise,
forever, right?
surprise,
So
yeah.
I think that actually it's development of technology that have allowed us to understand how different products react with radio waves, and allows us then to develop different ways of solving these problems. But going back to this, what you don't want to read, I think it's very important. If you're wanting to do inventory counts and you want to do inventory counts in a room like this, what you
Yeah,
don't want to do is you don't want to pick up next door. You don't want to pick up the next room.
or duplications or things, or reading twice things, right?
Absolutely. So I think that is one of the main challenges to really optimize kind of read performance and really secure what you want to read. And if you can do that, I feel then that the data that you capture, the data that you present into systems
Yeah.
is very accurate and then can be trusted and used throughout. So
So I mean, it's really relieving to see that. I mean, all those troubles that again, I'm talking about the past. I mean,
mm,
those troubles that it was really like people saying, "Hey, this new technology, I'm not sure about it." Maybe especially in retail, maybe the people is going to be just running away with product without reading or without paying. I mean, I think that was a genuine probably concern. Years ago, as you said, the physics are not changed, but the technology has changed. Technology has adapted to these situations, so now it's a safe, an absolutely safe way of tracking things. Um, Security. We are talking about data.
mm,
I work in marketing. To me, data means trap.
Okay. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've got access to marketing data that I never had in the past, but now the concerns, the regulations, the laws are really, let's say, imposing me to be very, very careful with the data. And the data breaches are really critically seen by any government and individual, especially in certain areas, right? Maybe not in others. So um, I I remember when you were talking also about this kind of data security, we were talking about GDPR. Maybe we can touch that a little bit later on
Sure.
if we
Yeah.
talk about certain markets. But you also brought into the table the authentication. So RFID can play a significant role in the authentication of products. Make sure that this really is what you are buying. If
Sure.
it's a brand, I will not mention a brand, but if it's a brand, you want to make sure that this is that brand and not a copy. Then I was surprised on that. How is RFID impacting this market?
Yeah. I guess, if we're looking at authentication of products,
Hmm.
if we're looking at removing counterfeits, for instance, from the world,
Yeah.
giving everything not just an ID but a really unique ID is important. So I think, and that's exactly where RFID comes in. So the ability to give every single product, whether it looks the same on the outside, a uniqueness to it, will really allow us to understand what products we have, where they are in the world, and if we see something that's outside of that, we can then really quickly call that out as being a counterfeit. So that's where technology is moving. Being able to encrypt information that sits within a tag and only see that data in I guess other software setups will
Yes.
really allow, especially brand owners, and whether you're a retail, whether you're a high-end manufacturer of handbags, or whether you're producing pharmaceutical drugs, being able to say where your product is and that it's authentic is so important for business. And RFID allows you to do that very simply.
I think that's a very good sales argument, right?
Mm.
Because I think the concerns, on the authentication, how to prove that something is really authentic is a brand. It's a concern from every retailer. Especially when they face the, let's say, non-official competition, right? So, and
Absolutely.
it's also not even I'm not especially talking about the people who selling things in the street or in the black market or something like that. I'm talking about, hey, when you are buying goods, you want to make sure that you're offering the real goods to your customers and not buying something which is different, right? So
Absolutely.
I think that's very critical. Retail in e-commerce, retail is the main market in this moment for RFID. Healthcare is rising very fast.
Sure.
Uh, I don't know if it's faster or other than other, let's say, markets, but healthcare is really one of those areas where this is getting a bigger impact.
Yeah.
Also because the size of the market.
Absolutely. And there's, I guess, critically, there's patients at stake in lots of these areas. So ensuring that, healthcare is a big, broad statement as well,
Correct.
isn't it? Really,
Again,
absolutely. So you've either got patient safety in one place, you've then got management of sterile implants that
Yeah.
will be implanted into people within surgeries on a daily basis. Understanding that you have the right product at the right time, that it's not expired, it hasn't been recalled by a brand manager is really important for the safety of that patient. And I guess RFID is a very good way of managing that stock, again, from source, from where the product is made, through the whole chain to use within a patient.
Well, to be honest with you, every time we talk to any of your colleagues in the market, in the same area that you are working in, also the assets control in hospitals becomes one of those big targets. And then there is a moment that you wonder, well, if it's so obvious, why not every hospital has already implemented that technology, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's still there, but I think it's
I-
growing there, and it's a big opportunity.
Absolutely. Like, every hospital will have an asset list. They'll know exactly, well, they'll think they know
Yeah.
what they have and in which position. And with barcode technology, you're able to gather that information over time. You're able to see each item one by one and actually confirm that you have it, where it lives, and maybe the health and the status of that product as well. Now, you turn that into RFID, and suddenly that capturing of that information becomes very easy. You can imagine in a hospital that has maybe 100 wards, being able to wheel in a trolley, read every tag with RFID, gather that information, ensure that everything is in the right place at the right time, or critically, if you're missing medical devices, if certain things haven't been serviced, you're able to see that instantly and action that. And I feel that within the healthcare space, being able to save time and effort, understanding what you have, is a really critical
And
part
honestly, I think it's
of
also
patient
easier
care.
to implement because, I mean, the interaction with the end user, which is the doctor, the nurse, etc., is much lower. They don't need to read, they don't need to tag, they don't need to do anything. It's just one person in the IT department which is really controlling all that.
Absolutely, yeah. You can, I guess, set up very simple RFID reading zones that gather that information. You don't have to impose yourself on patients or move them out of the way just to scan their bed, for instance. So
And let's be honest, I mean, from the point of view of the access control, now everyone, as an individual, is also used to use these tags to enter in hospitals, in rooms, in cafeterias, in your gym club. So,
yeah,
I mean, this is a more, let's say, familiar way of identification than the others. So
yeah,
it's also by nature,
that's
it's
right.
also easier to implement.
Yeah, and look, so that's kind of the medical devices and the things that are used. But
Yeah.
probably the most important part of a hospital is the patients and the care of those patients. And I think that that traceability, that's where the GDPR
Yeah.
question comes in from a security point of view. But actually, understanding flows of patients within the hospital site is really critical as well. And if you can speed up the care that you give to a patient, moving them from stage to stage within that hospital, as soon as they've finished and the bed needs to be turned around and you need a new patient, being able to do that as quick as possible. I think that all of those elements, RFID will kind of really enhance that ability to refine those processes in that area.
Certainly a very good advance. Let's look at other markets.
Sure.
So I want to talk about logistics and supply chain. You are also a big active player in those markets. To be honest with you, I mean, with so many parcels being moved every day, I think this is a no-brainer, right, for RFID?
Well, it's a bigger challenge, definitely. There's probably 200 billion parcels sent every day around the world. Okay, and look, there's some obviously major players in this area that are looking for these fine benefits. Really, they want to obviously offer better services to their end customers. They want to be quicker, more accurate in what they do, and obviously the industry itself is being built on barcodes for many years.
Yeah.
And when you move items one by one through your logistics chain, barcodes are a great way to manage that. I think that RFID now is just going to give a new layer for visibility of where your products are, where your parcels are within the chain, and enabling you to really optimize what you're going to do in the very near future to make sure that delivery of that parcel is done as good as possible. So I think there's a couple of things in here. These logistics chains are already running at real high speed. So if you're looking to
Literally.
Absolutely. So if you're looking to implement a brand new technology, this technology has to keep up the pace of the current system. There's no point having like a relay race with 3 Usain Bolts and me on the fourth leg.
Yeah.
We're going to slow people down, right?
Correct.
So I think it's really important that when we're introducing a new technology to an industry like this, that we're able to keep that pace. So the ability in our world to print and encode a small tag that goes onto every parcel that allows you to run through the supply chain, understand where it is at each point, understand whether you need more trucks to arrive at a certain distribution center because of the volume that's been created, or whether you can optimize your workload accordingly. I feel that there's many companies now taking that next step, seeing whether this technology, RFID technology, is going to give them the benefits they can, and our industry needs to keep up. We need to make sure we're
But
quick enough.
I think it's obvious because I mean, also, I mean, in especially in transport and logistics, if we go to transport, more and more companies, are expanding also the e-commerce, right,
Yeah,
right now, and this is just a very, let's say, recent boom, right? It's coming up out of the pandemic, etc. But we are seeing this as a booming market, and there is no step back. I mean, the market keeps strong and growing in that area.
yeah,
So the more and more technology they implemented, the more and more, or let's say, the more and more this technology becomes available for the shop in the corner, and not
sure,
only for the UPS or DHLs of this world,
sure.
then the bigger the opportunities also for our customers,
Yeah,
right?
look,
In terms of implementing this.
we've always been disappointed,
Yeah.
or sometimes been disappointed
Yeah.
when you're expecting a parcel to turn up
Yeah.
and it doesn't turn up, and you receive your parcel
Yeah.
and one item's missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That can make or break your day, especially if
Correct.
you've
Correct.
bought a present for your wife for tomorrow, right? And you've
Don't go there.
relied on the e-commerce to do it for you. So I think actually, RFID, and in some ways, vision systems can really improve that accuracy of that e-commerce piece as well.
That's a good part. I mean, you mentioned vision systems. Is that an alternative to the RFID, let's say, technology? You see that is there's a conflict between those two that is going to be affecting our market?
Yeah, I think that I think in certain points along a supply chain where items are, you know, visible
Mm.
to you, and if we're looking at, say, a conveyor belt with parcels running along it, and barcodes always facing upwards, a vision system is a perfect way to identify that item and give it a
Yes.
new location and timestamp at
Mhm.
that point. It's then when those items then get packed into boxes and then get moved around that suddenly you lose that visibility, and the vision system then can't help you, and that's where having building your identification end-to-end chain based on multiple technologies
Hmm.
is very sensible. It allows you to really, yeah, visualize your items in different areas. And
Correct.
like from our point of view, being able to both print and encode.
Yeah.
So we're actually using QR code and RFID, linear barcodes and RFID
Yes.
in one single label will actually benefit you greatly because you're able to feed different systems along the
Correct.
chain.
Correct. Okay. Oh, that's a good answer. And also, we have been touching also those three probably biggest markets, right?
Hmm.
The retail, healthcare, also retail. Is there any other market where you see a growth or an importance, in this industry? Because I mean, you being a global player,
Yeah.
in the RFID area, probably are seeing some emerging areas that might not be evident in this moment to the people, but could be representing good opportunities for the future. I don't know, field service maybe, or I don't know, you name it.
Yeah, sure. I think one we haven't spoken about yet is food. Okay, so if we look at back to healthcare, for
Hmm.
instance, the expiry dates on certain implants
Yeah,
is really important to
absolutely.
understand that you're not implanting something that's out of date. But obviously, in food and expiry dates, batch control, full traceability
Hmm.
of that product has always been important, and I just think that there's new legislation that will help, shape the importance of that information. So there's a new legislation in the US, which
Yeah.
is, the
Is the
yeah, Food Safety Modernization Act.
FSAMA, right?
That's right. So coming into act next year, which really means that if you've got
Is it
items on your shelf.
only for the US or also affecting the
It
European
start
market?
it's starting in the US,
Okay.
okay? So if you're
So
if
you
you're
see
a
it coming probably.
if you're a retailer and you have food items on your shelf, and there is a recall made of that product,
Mhm.
you need to be able to uh, address that straight away. Within 24 hours, you need to report back to say where your products are. So if a
So you need technology then behind, otherwise it's going to be impossible for many of them, right? Especially if you're again a shop in the corner.
Absolutely. So items will either have to have obviously serialized by their carton, ideally, in time serialized by the product, each with its own lot number or batch number, so you can fully trace that back to when it was manufactured. And systems will need to keep up. So when you're receiving items into your business, you're needing to receive these by that serial number, so that as a brand, you can look throughout, the world pretty much, and say exactly where your products are at all times. And if you need to make a recall, that's quite easy to do.
Well, we have, we are seeing that, of course, this market is, I'm not going to say booming, but certainly having a very, very steady growth, And then I also wonder about something, right? Especially in Europe, people is very concerned about the environmental effect of all this.
Sure.
And I wonder, how is RFID and the environment, how are them cooperating, Is
Yeah,
that
sure.
good for the environment? Is it really having a good impact? Is it also a sales argument, when you are talking to an end user, that might have not thought about this, but of course is much more sensitive on those things than 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah. Look, I think the number one thing probably here is wastage. If you don't need to make new things, you don't need to dig them up. You don't need to m- process them through your system
Yeah.
and then make the final product. So, the ideal is to have the right products that are required at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Every time you need to make extra, suddenly there's wastage in your world. So, if we go back to, say, the medical implants, for instance, there will be rooms in hospitals today that have got thousands and thousands of euros of implants that are out of date. And maybe it's because they don't know where they are. Maybe it's because they haven't been stock taken.
No, now you scare me.
Yeah, and look, there's systems in place to make sure they don't get used, but suddenly there's wastage in these areas.
Not only about those implants, think also about residual, I don't know what is the right name in English for this, but let's say everything which is out of any operation, all
Yeah.
these, let's say blood, which is out of something, all this waste, that needs to be destroyed, and you need to be sure that they are destroyed, because otherwise, first of all, it's personal stuff, but second, also is something that can affect the healthcare, the healthy of others. So, a right traceability there is absolutely critical,
Yeah,
and I
sure.
think that's also in a certain way environmental.
Yeah, the European Green Act
Hmm.
that's obviously looking to turn Europe as a whole into carbon neutral by
Yeah.
2050. And one of their main directives and legislation is the digital product passport.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, depending on the product, whether it's a battery, a electronical item, whether it's textiles, and furniture and other products, we're going to have the need to actually understand the full life cycle of that product. What are the components of this?
Yeah.
Where have they been made? Where have they come from? What CO2 or water has been used to actually get them to that point? And then at that point, how do you then deal with it in the future? How do you recycle it? How do you repair it? So this whole circular economy will be really important from a wastage perspective. RFID, does it play a part in it? Well, it might do. QR codes are probably the number one technology that will be used there.
Uh,
But I think that actually, NFC being another RFID technology,
Yeah.
You have a phone in your pocket that has NFC capability.
Correct.
So, utilizing technology that is already in everyone's hands today will be really important to
All these
deciding on.
regulations, all these, let's say, market facts, are really representing opportunities for our industry,
Sure, yeah.
for your customers, for our customers, for our partners. Uh, but I'm sure, and again, referring to your previous, let's say, many years or long career in sales, it's like there are for sure also deal stoppers,
Mm,
and I want to
yeah.
address those ones. And then some of them we have already touched, like, okay, might be an initial cost which is higher, that using any other technology. Good, the integration, you have talked about those things, but there is something that it also catches my attention. We have been talking about RFID as the best way to track data.
Yeah.
And data is a key element in the efficiency. But not every company is ready to manage all that data.
Yeah.
And I think this is a critical thing. It's like, hey, now I'm going to give you all this data. Fantastic.
Yeah.
What the hell? I'm doing with them with
Yeah,
that? How can I use it? Am I prepared to use it? And I think that's also a deal stopper. Am I right?
absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of the time we concentrate on that data creation at the first end,
Yep.
looking to see exactly what is important upstream. Um, and I guess a lot of the systems that we put in place are there to be flexible, to allow people to create the type of data that they need to feed systems further up the chain. Um, but it's that utilization of the data which is key. If that data stays within one analyst's head or within their own screens and doesn't get out to the workforce, doesn't get out to the people to make a change, that will really restrict the use of RFID as a technology. So I guess if you look at
Yep.
in the retail space, understanding that today's Wednesday, okay, and our predictions from our system say we're going to sell this.
Yep.
Okay, you need to make sure that if that's a prediction, that you actually have the stock to do that. So I think that it's that use of what to do today, day to day, whether they're dashboards within a manufacturing site that says, "Hey, you're on track to have a great day today. You're going to smash through your numbers," or whether it's in retail to say you've got the right products to actually fulfill every customer need. I think it's that use of data which is really important, but it comes from the start. You can only create that at one place.
This is what I say. I think it's instrumental really to provide the right information to the right customer, right? So it's like, hey, we can provide this big portion of information, but you know what? I mean, my project, my plan for you is like, this is what you're going to be using. And I think this is also influencing the scalability, the return of investment of the system. When you are implementing that, you can get up to here while you might be focusing only in this level for the beginning. So making this, let's say, customize a little bit, I think is important. It's like, hey, you can get a lot of things, yeah, great, but how do I use them, right? So let's try to avoid in our proposals to go so vague, right? Because that probably is too easy. You can get all this. What for? I think that's a key element.
Yeah, look, try and solve the simple problems first. If we can avoid people getting lots of things out of a box and scanning them, when actually it's much easier just to push these items through a tunnel. There's a real clear operational benefit straight away. So really increasing that accuracy of your reads and the time spent getting that information. I think they're the simple wins that you can look within everyone's organization. And then maybe move that to bigger picture. And I think that's maybe where some of the complications come in. If we go back to that hospital, for instance,
Yeah.
that might have 10 suppliers of certain implants that are used
Yes.
in there. Now, if they all use different technology and ways to represent and give ID to their product, centrally they can't really use it.
Yeah.
So I think it's first of all, get the benefits of you can, and then hopefully um, you know, society will then move to technology that allows other businesses to utilize that to
No,
have sort
absolutely,
of
absolutely right. I mean, I say thank you for, for touching all these many points. I mean, I think we have given a wide vision on how the RFID is evolving today.
sure,
But how is RFID evolving for the future? And then I cannot resist to ask you. I mean, again, you're working for many years for a global player in this environment. You see projects from SATO, from Japan to the US, from
sure, yeah,
Africa to Europe. So, I mean, let me go very narrow now to your companies. What is your strategy? I don't want to ask you what is your strategy, but what do you expect from the future? Where is SATO moving? In
yeah.
terms of adding something else to this market.
Sure, yeah. I guess for us, I guess it's it's going back to RFID being a broad statement. Well,
Mhm.
there are a number of different technologies within RFID itself, and for us, we like to position the right technology for the right application.
Mhm.
So it's really important that when there are new, I guess, um, protocols that are coming online that are now becoming more commercially used, that we keep in line. We'd like to think we were leaders here, that we are actually, raising the bar and being first to market with new protocols, and just giving more options to I guess businesses to pick the right product as we go. So I think that's really important, and I think also full understanding of people's processes as well. The only reason we make the right choice at that first point is because we understand the full process of someone's business, how they want to move and treat their products through the way, and what information they want to give to their staff and to the consumers of products. So, really important that we are, really setting the pace really on new technology.
No, it's absolutely very important. It's of course a pleasure, to count with you in our portfolio of products, because this also gives us a very good insight, a very
Mm.
good deep knowledge, into this area, which, as I said before, is growing
Sure.
and massively being demanded now by many customers, not only the tier 1 but also in the tier 2, tier
Absolutely.
3 customers.
Yeah.
So fantastic. So I don't know. I mean, is there any takeaway that we should take out of this conversation, Richard?
Yeah. Okay. I suppose, look, uh, you know, we at SATO, we always like to go back to the start. Okay, we think that's where it all happens. That's where all the magic happens. You need if you're going to implement I guess an RFID solution, whichever protocol you pick, you need to get it right at the start. You need
Correct.
something that's totally reliable. So, if we're talking about, ensuring that the processes that an operator will go through to ingest that data into their system and print and encode tags, they have to have that almost seamless.
Yeah.
Does the same thing every time. It's a very predictable setup. So that's kind of like where the heart is. And I suppose then from a data perspective, be really open with how we can share our data, how we can then generate data that's going to be used up the chain and really make these systems fly and deliver benefits
Excellent. Yeah.
throughout. So I think they're the key takeaways from us. And look, it's been a pleasure talking to you today on this topic.
Bright future.
Absolutely.
That's my good. So again, thank you very much, Richard Cross, EMEA Solutions Manager, at SATO. Thank you very much for your experience, also for giving us your thoughts on this technology. And I think most important, thank you for opening the eyes of certain areas, of certain challenges, of the RFID that can also represent a huge opportunity for our partners, our common partners. Absolutely.
No problem,
Thank you.
Paco. Thank you very much.
Have a good trip back to the UK, and thank you for coming today.
Thanks. Okay.